Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into preparation at the college level with meal preparation. My guest today is Elizabeth Yarnell, and she is an author. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I'm glad to be here.
Sure. So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I went to Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine.
Ah, fantastic. So let's just go back a little bit in time. In high school, when did you start thinking about going to college? Was it freshman year of high school, senior year of high school? When did it all begin for you?
I'm going to say preschool. I decided that I knew I was going to go to college. My parents both had doctorates, and that was just always a given.
Ah, okay. So was Bowdoin the only college that you applied to, or did you have many different schools that you were looking at?
Well, I grew up in Denver, Colorado, so Bowdoin wasn't even on my radar until I met somebody when I was 16 or 17 who went to Bowdoin. And then that was the first time I had heard of it. I always knew I was going to go to school back on the East Coast. Kind of in my mind, my mother's a Yankee, my father's from New York. I always kind of thought the best education was going to be on the East Coast. And I really wanted to get as far away from home as I could. So from Denver to Maine, I don't know if I could have gotten much further without leaving the country. But I applied to Middlebury and Brown, and I had a whole list of colleges that I was looking at.
Great. So now you get to school. What's it like?
Well, I chose Bowdoin because when I did my college tour to do all of my interviews, we went on campus and it was kind of a rainy day in the fall, and I just fell in love with the school and the quad, and it just looked to me like a quintessential college quad and campus, and when I got there, it was awesome. Bowdoin's a really small school. When I was there, I think we had fewer than 400 people in my class.
Wow.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So what did you study at Bowdoin?
I had a double major of Italian language and literature. I was the very first and only Italian major at that point to come out of Bowdoin. And my other major was European history. And then I had a minor in photography.
Wow. So now, how does one go from graduating Bowdoin to an author? And tell us about your book as well.
So when I came out of Bowdoin, or when I was finishing up Bowdoin senior year, and everybody was going to interviews on campus with insurance companies and all these big kind of corporate entities, and I couldn't have been less interested in doing something like that. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, but I came back to Denver, and I ended up getting an internship at NBC, at the local NBC affiliate, and I worked there, and that started my career really in the film and video industry, where I worked in for the next 10 years.
Wow.
And I went back to graduate school at the University of Denver, and I got a degree in liberal studies again, and with a focus on creative writing. And I came out of that program as a published writer, and I started writing as a journalist for magazines and newspapers. This was kind of very, very early days of the internet. And from there, I transitioned into becoming an instructional designer. And this was the early 90s, and I got very interested in the new technologies that were coming out. The internet, CD-ROMs, they all seem so antiquated now. But so I had the opportunity to become trained as a multimedia instructional designer, and I did that for about 10 years.
Wow.
And then one night I went to sleep as usual. It was about 2 weeks before my 30th birthday, and I awoke the next morning blind in my right eye.
Whoa.
And it turned out I had multiple sclerosis. So that put a whole right turn into my career path. And that's when I started to become interested in health and healthy eating and what I could do to be more proactive about my future as a person now diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Wow. So we'll get into that as well. Just tell us a little bit about the book and what it's called, where people can get it.
So I ended up, in my pursuit of trying to help myself be healthier, when I was diagnosed, I learned that 80% of MS patients will be significantly disabled within 10 years of diagnosis. And here I was, just about to turn 30 years old, and I was going to be in a wheelchair by the time I was 40. That was really horrifyingly scary to me. But all the doctors at the time said, well, there's really nothing that you can do. You can take these really toxic injectable medications, and they may or may not slow the disease, but nothing's going to change it. We don't know why it starts. We don't know how to stop it. And so I thought, well, I don't really like to sit around and passively wait for my body to fail on me. It was my new husband at the time who was a competitive athlete, and he suggested that maybe my diet had something to do with it. And I thought, maybe he has a point, because I really had spent the decade of my 20s as a single girl living in my apartment, and my staple diet were Crystal Light, Diet Coke, and gummy bears. So maybe it wasn't such a huge surprise that at the end of that decade, my body would give out on me. But he really encouraged me to start to eat healthy. He introduced me to organic and whole foods. And I thought, okay, well, I can try this. What have I got to lose? So I started taking cooking classes and watching the new Food Network, which was brand new at the time, and trying to cook more foods from scratch. And what I quickly learned was that cooking from whole foods takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and you end up creating a whole kitchen full of mess. And fatigue is a hallmark of MS, as well as other autoimmune issues. So I thought there has to be a better way to do this. And one night I was watching an infomercial, and the guy came on TV, and he's like, look, you can make your whole meal in this one kitchen appliance. And he puts in a can of tomatoes and dry rice, and then he puts a grill, a metal grate, like a barbecue grill type grate over it, and he puts chicken breasts on top of that, and then he put another grate and brownies on the top, covered the whole thing with a dome, plugged it in, turned it on. I thought, wow, that is brilliant. But I don't have that countertop appliance. I don't have any of those grates, and I don't really care about the brownies. I'm trying to find a better, easier way to cook my whole foods. And so we had just received a cast iron Dutch oven as a wedding gift, and I pulled it out, and I put in some frozen fish fillets and some fresh herbs and some vegetables, and I threw it in an oven. I figured it had to be what this countertop appliance that he was using had to be pretty hot, so I cranked up my oven to 450 degrees. If I had known anything about cooking, I would have known you only cook breads and pizzas at 450 degrees, never fish. But I didn't know, so I put it in, and in half an hour, it just smelled like dinner. And that just became the way that we cooked, me and my new husband. And then it turned out that I could patent that process, and so I received a process patent for this cooking method, and that's what I introduce in my cookbook, Glorious One Pot Meals.
Wow, fantastic.
So it just really makes it very easy to make quick, super healthy meals out of whatever foods you have around and whatever you like to eat.
So now I'm a student in college, and I pick up your cookbook. What do I do? How do I go about all the information that's in the book?
So my cookbook makes a great gift for grads of high school or college, because it allows you just to have one pot. And I have, I have a little itty bitty Dutch oven I can show you here. But this is basically the Dutch oven that I use, but I use a slightly bigger one.
Sure.
I like to use a 2-quart pot, which is really small. And when we received our 2-quart as a wedding gift, we thought, oh, this is such a little pot. It's really like this, only this big.
Okay.
But what are we going to do with such a little pot? What can you do with such a little pot? But as it turns out, you can make 2 perfectly sized, healthy meals in a 2-quart cast iron Dutch oven in 45 minutes. Wow. And you can cook it in a toaster oven. You can cook it in your oven. You can even there's a stovetop method to do it in. It just makes it really easy. So as a college student, you might not have a lot of space in your kitchen. You might not want to have a whole kitchen's worth of pots and pans. You can have one cast iron Dutch oven and create healthy meals for yourself and your roommate, or for yourself tonight and tomorrow night.
And what kind of meals do you show in the book?
So in the book, there are over 150 different recipes. And what I tried to do in the book was really kind of recreate favorite flavor combinations and favorite recipes. So I take everything from, say, chicken piccata to Thai curry to chicken satay. Every single recipe in Glorious One Pot Meals is customizable and adaptable. So even chicken piccata, so when I created that chicken piccata recipe, I went to Cook's Illustrated magazine and I made chicken piccata according to their steps and recipes. It took me 3 hours. By the time I finished the chicken, the broccoli was like falling apart, like nothing. I couldn't get the timing correct. So when I transferred it into a Glorious One Pot meal, I could just put in the chicken and the lemon and the capers and the broccoli. Everything goes into one pot at the same time. It doesn't matter if it's fresh or frozen or any combination or even canned. You just throw it all in, and in 45 minutes it's done.
Wow. Now,
but then it's totally substitutable.
Do you do different types of fish and meats as well?
Yes. So I really resisted even setting the cookbook up or laying it out in categories like chicken and meats and fish, because you could take that chicken piccata recipe and you could say, you know what, I want to make it with pork. I'm going to put, instead of the fish, you put the same amount of pork in, and you put the rest of the lemon and the capers and everything else in, and it works just perfectly. Or you could say, oh, I don't want to do pork, I want to have this vegetarian, so you could do tofu piccata. It doesn't matter. You can use any combinations of meats. Every meat is substitutable. Every protein is substitutable for any other protein. Every carb for every other carb, and every grain for every grain. And also any vegetable for any vegetable. And my goal is to, in every recipe, to create a rainbow of flavors a rainbow of colors with your vegetables, so that you get all the nutrients, all different nutrients, micronutrients that you can have all in one meal, so you don't have to serve it with a side salad or with a loaf of bread. It's really all there in one pot.
Now, can kids, is it pretty simple for students to pick up all of the meals and inexpensive? Is it inexpensive meals?
It's so easy. I have had 8-year-olds in my cooking classes who love to cook, and they come in and they prepare the meals for their families. So easy. I have a bunch of 3-minute cooking demonstrations on my website that you can just watch. Literally, you just it's the order that you put the food into the pot. You just put it in, done, put it in the oven.
Wow.
It's very inexpensive because it's using whole foods. So you're not getting all those pre-processed foods and paying for all that packaging and all the additives that they put in. So you're starting with a potato, for example, as opposed to something that's already been cut and chopped and frozen and processed.
And what's the website that they could go to?
So the best website to go to is ElizabethYarnell.com, ElizabethYarnell.com. And then if you click on the books, you'll see Glorious One Pot Meal at the top of my books list.
Nice. So now you talked about MS. Let me go into that a little bit with you. Where are you today? How are you feeling? What's going on right now?
So I am 20 years past diagnosis this year in 2019. I was diagnosed in 1999. As I said, 80% of MS patients have significant disabilities within 10 years of diagnosis. My last MS exacerbation was in 2002. I really believe that what we eat has a lot to do with our health and how we feel. And I have gone on in my life to become a naturopathic doctor and really found a connection between hypersensitivity reactions and food sensitivity reactions and autoimmunity. So I now run a nationwide dietary clinic where I customize anti-inflammatory diets for people, especially those with chronic autoimmune or chronic inflammatory issues. And they get better.
Wow, fantastic. So do you go around the country, around the world? What do you do?
I do. I speak all over the country about healthy eating and autoimmunity, and really inflammation is my topic, because that is the root cause of all symptoms, most if not all symptoms. But my nationwide clinic is open to anyone in North America who can reach Florida by FedEx overnight.
Wow.
And it's virtual, so it's all by phone and email and over the computer.
So now, autoimmune systems, can you tell us a little bit about how people get something like that? What happens to people? How do they self-diagnose themselves to say, oh yes, I have to go talk to Elizabeth?
So my patients come to me, a lot of them come to me because they have a folder full of reports from doctors that they have visited that have not been able to help them. They might have gotten a diagnosis of chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, or maybe they have migraines or IBS or acid reflux or arthritis, any conditions that traditional doctors struggle with, that they really don't have a cure, that they can offer palliative care or other kinds of drugs to suppress things, but they're not addressing the root cause. So you would come to me if you feel like crap.
Really?
That's when you come to me. Mm-hmm.
So does someone just eat something and they just say, wow, I just feel sluggish, or I don't feel right?
Well, by the time, usually it's very, very hard. How do I want to phrase this? It's very hard to self-identify what foods might be causing you a problem. You might know something like, oh, every time I eat shrimp, I have to run to the bathroom or something like that. Or anaphylaxis, which is a little bit different. Those are allergies. But otherwise, it's usually something that you're eating every day that you have no idea that's causing you to feel sluggish and fatigued or giving you a headache. And you can't identify. You're like, but I eat different things every day, and I have a headache every day at 3 p.m. or I don't sleep because I wake up at 2 in the morning and I can't fall asleep, or I can't fall asleep to begin with, and then I'm really tired and can't get on track, or I'm always running to the bathroom and my bowels are just unpredictable, or either constipated or diarrhea. There's all of these things. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong physically. And when that is going on, you don't feel your best and you're not functioning at a high level.
So now they come to you with these type of issues. Is it something that you fix overnight? Is it something that takes a month, 2 years, 10 years?
That's a great question, because we live in a society where we like instant gratification, and this is a little bit more of a process than that. It really takes 6 weeks for inflammation to really move out of the body. But what I teach is a lifetime journey of pursuing health. So I help you to move forward even when you are finished working with me. How do you move forward and know what things are okay for you and what things are going to cause a reaction for you?
Now, do you make a list for people of what they can eat, what they can't eat? Do they go through a diagnosis of everything?
Yes, exactly. I use very sophisticated blood and urine testing. So it gives me a very clear picture of what's going on in your body.
Interesting. Now, back to students in college. These students, when they're in their dorm rooms and things of that sort, their dorm rooms are sometimes small, sometimes they have large dorm rooms. How do they go about picking up the cookbook and saying, okay, how do I cook this in my small little dorm room?
So I went to Bed Bath & Beyond, and I took my little 2-quart Dutch oven and I went up to the toaster section and I went, does this fit? Does this fit? Does this fit? And I bought a toaster oven that fits my cast iron Dutch oven, and I prepare, especially in the summertime, I will often take that toaster oven out to my back porch and plug it in out there so I don't heat up my house.
Now, can students, is there variety for different times of the year? You know, how about if schools are they're winter type schools like a Bowdoin that's in Maine and it's snowing all the time in the wintertime. Is it something where, I could do something more in the winter months than in the spring or in the fall?
So every meal you can create to be the way you want it. You can make a hearty meal that's meat and potatoes. You can make a lighter meal. I have pasta meals. I have tofu meals. I have beef steak meals and more like brisket type meal. There's everything that you can imagine. And again, everything is substitutable. So you make it how you want it.
Now, where can they pick up the book? Is it easy to pick up the book?
So the book, actually, I self-published the book first in 2005, and then it was picked up. I sold it to Random House, and it was republished in 2009 by Clarkson Potter, one of their imprints, and it has sold more than 60,000 copies so far.
Wow.
But because it's a little bit older, you're probably not going to find it in a bookstore. Absolutely look on Amazon. I have more than 300 reviews on Amazon, so you can read through all those people and see what they think as well.
Wow, fantastic. So what other, are you writing any other books? Is there a future of other things happening with you?
There is, actually. I am working on my next book. It's called The Inflammation Influence: How Hidden Inflammation Affects the Way We Look, Feel, Think, and Act. And it's really about the cookbook works really well to reduce inflammation in your body when you're aware of what causes that inflammation. But this is all about all the root causes of inflammation and how you can address them so that you can heal yourself naturally and not be addicted to pharmaceuticals for the rest of your life.
Wow. So a lot of people utilizing those type of pills and things, do they weed off of that as they do things that you're recommending?
That is my hope, but I am not a medical doctor, so I am really not allowed to encourage that or even work with that.
Gotcha. Okay. So the book itself, how many different recipes are in the book?
I think there's like over 160.
Wow. Fantastic. So, and there's a wide variety of different recipes in there.
There's something for everyone, for sure.
And any student, high school level, college level, they could basically cook anything out of the book.
A 7-year-old can make anything out of the book.
The book has been out for quite some time, and you have another book coming. What's the stage of the new book? How far in advance are you? When will it be coming out?
All very good questions, to which I don't have very good answers yet. I am right now focused. I have a Inflammation Influence online course that I am about to launch, and I have a podcast coming out about inflammation called Accelerated Healing. And those will be happening. Certainly, a book is a long process to come out. Probably, the book might be out in 2021 would be my guess.
Wow. So about the things that you're doing, just seminars, books, is there any other things that you have going on in your career?
Well, it's funny you should ask. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. So I have other businesses as well, and I have another business where I have created a suite of online programming to help teachers bring technology into the classroom for elementary and middle schoolers.
Oh.
And that website is digistarsworkshop.com.
And what is that all about?
So that's all about digital storytelling. Like I said, I was in the film and video industry for a while, for 10 years, and then I was an instructional designer for 10 years. And these two parts of my background came together to create these basically movie-making programs for kids that bring technology into their academics.
Wow, and teachers will be able to pick that up off of your website and use it in the classroom?
Yep, teachers can subscribe and get access from the ELearning Portal, and then they have curriculum that they can follow. They have all of the materials plus hundreds of sample videos that they show the kids and take them through the digital storytelling process.
Now, when will that be out? Is that something in the future, or is that something now?
No, that's out now. That's live and up there and available for teachers, scout leaders, youth enrichment program coordinators, summer camp leaders, anybody who, or even parents who would like to do projects with their kids.
Wow, fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents and the students that are out there? They're going to school, they need preparation for cooking. What advice do you want to give them?
My advice is that the best laid plans for healthy eating can go awry if you don't have the food near you. So I always encourage people to go to the grocery store and stock up. Get the crackers, the nuts, the snack foods, popcorn, all kinds of things that you can keep around that are shelf stable, that you can always have, so that there's something you can always reach for and snack on. Dried fruits are great options, especially for college kids who might not have access to a grocery store that easily. So stock up and have a little pantry in your dorm room so that there's something healthy to reach for and you don't have to go for that junk food from the vending machine.
Well, great. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.